Alright, so if you've worked with epoxy resin before, you may have realized that you can add certain things to it, like cement mix or plaster or sand or whatever. But the problem kind of is, all that really does is kind of, it just colors your resin. It can add some really nice effects, don't get me wrong, but you can't really properly mix cement with resin or plaster with resin because they're water-based. So all you can really do is pour the powder into the resin. And again, all that really does is color the resin. So you may have seen the video where I talked about this stuff, this resin alternative. It's water-based. It's just powder that you mix with water, and you can cast with it. You can fill molds and so forth. So I got to thinking, maybe I can see what happens if I mix some cement mix with that, because I have to mix water with it anyway. So doing that, I can activate not only the pure cure powder, but also the cement powder. I'm going to try a couple different variations on this to see what kind of results I can get, finish-wise and strength-wise, hardness-wise, and so forth. So first one I'm going to do is, for all these, I'm going to do the same amount of water. I've got each of these should come out total to the same volume, all three experiments here. So for the first one, I'm doing half of the powder mix is going to be the pure cure, and then half is going to be the cement mix. And then just for a little variation to see which way is a little stronger maybe, I'm going to do 25% cement mix and 75% pure cure powder. And then just for fun, on the final one, I'm going to do 1/3 pure cure, 1/3 cement mix, and 1/3 colored sand. My estimate is the one with the sand will probably be a little more prone to breakage, just because there's all that aggregate in there, and it's probably not going to have the tensile strength that the other ones will have. As far as will the 50% be stronger than the 75%, I don't know. We'll see. I do tend to believe that the one with more pure cure, the 75% one, I tend to feel like that one's probably going to be a little stronger of the three. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started on mixing, and then we'll pour them, and then we'll see how they come out. Now, because of the cement mix, I'm going to go ahead and wait 24 hours to demold these, because cement mix takes significantly longer to set up than this pure cure, which only takes 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on mixing. First, I'm going to pour about half of my pure cure powder in, and about half of the cement mix. I think I'm going to go ahead and give that a little stir before I put any water in it. Then I'm going to pour all the water in. Now, if I feel like I need to add water, I'm going to add water. I feel like the cement mix probably tends to, I feel like they both have different absorption rates of the water. So one will probably absorb the water better than the other one. Therefore, I might end up too thick and I might have to water it down a little more. As you can see, I'm not using any color in these because, again, part of what I'm looking for here is trying to find out what the finish is going to be like on this stuff. And so I just want to see it straight up, raw, no colorant. Obviously, just as I figured, the 50-50 mix is light gray. So I would assume the 75-25 mix will be an even lighter gray. This is a little thick, but I do think I'm going to pour it like this. I don't think I'm going to add any more water. Just because cement mix usually is substantially thicker than the Pure Cure mix by itself anyway. So we'll just kind of treat this like we would cement mix. And I'm just going to go ahead and pour into our first mold here. Nice concrete-y color there. And since I'm going to have, looks like a good bit left over from these, I think I'm going to grab another coaster mold. And yeah, I'm just going to grab this coaster mold here. I think at the end I'm going to mix all three of the mixtures together and see what that turns out. So, set that to the side for now. And we'll go ahead and put in all of our cement mix into this one, the 25%. Then about half of this 75% powder. Gives that a good mix dry. I feel like I am going to have to add water to this one. Extra water, that is. Let's go ahead and get this water in here. Mix it around. The reason I don't pour all of the powder in at once, the reason why I pour about half the powder in and then the water and then mix a little bit, because I don't want the mix to get bogged down. It just makes it harder to mix everything together. And because you get these dry clumps, and it just makes it a lot harder to mix. Speaking of, this feels a lot more clumpy than the 50-50 mix, which I figured more concrete would have made it clumpier, but actually looks like a higher ratio of the Pure Cure is making it clumpier. But it is thinning out a bit here. And it really is about the same color as the other one, maybe a tad lighter. It's going to be interesting to see how these cure. You've got about the consistency of a nice milkshake. Well, a little thinner than a milkshake perhaps, but we'll go ahead and pour this. That's got a big clump in there. Let me fish that out of there. I don't like that. Okay. Fill this one up. Yep, as you can see, it's just a little bit lighter than that other one. I'm going to mix these two in together now. Hopefully I get all these poured before this final mixture sets up. And actually, looks like I didn't mix super well. There was a clump of cement mix down in there, but that's all right. Shouldn't affect the results too much. Mix that in. And now we'll do our final mix here. And I think I'm going to do the sand first. Some of that. Some of the Pure Cure. and some of the cement. Mix these a little bit while they're dry. And actually, in hindsight, I probably should have done the sand last, because that's going to sink. Matter of fact, I think what I'll do here is I'll pour that upside down into another cup, because the sand is bigger and heavier, so might not get a good mix if I leave the heavier part at the bottom. Didn't really think about that. I'll add the water. Rest of our pure cure and cement. And I feel like this is probably going to be a darker gray than the other ones. Hopefully with a nice green tint from that green sand. And this is just green craft sand I got from the Dollar Tree, which does go well in epoxy resin. If you mix a good heavy amount of sand with epoxy resin, you can get some really nice, interesting finishes on your pours. I've made several pyramids with different colored sands. They turned out really nice. And actually, because I want more of a color there, I'm going to add a bunch more. I'm going to add quite a bit more of this sand. Just because I really want that color to be standing out. Obviously that's made us quite thick here, but I can always add a little bit of water. And actually this might be fine to pour as it is. I don't think I'm really going to get a whole lot of color out of that, it looks like. Not without adding a whole bunch of sand. So looks like this one's going to be quite bubbly too, I would imagine. As you can see, much thicker mix here because of the sand. And I'm gonna actually hit this with the lighter and maybe pop those bubbles. Alright, so set that to the side, and I'm gonna let those cure. Uh-oh, yeah, this is really thickening up. So, I'm gonna add a bit of water here. That was more than a bit, but the other one's pretty thick too, so that should be nice. We'll add this slush in here. That looks like good proper cement mix. Get all that slush in there. Mix this up. It's still quite a bit watery. So I'm going to put a bunch more sand in here. Thicken it on up. I'm just going to keep going until it gets thick enough. I'm going to have a bunch left over from this. That's kind of the downside about this stuff, is because of the way the Pure Cure absorbs the water, I've found it really hard to calculate exactly how much I need to fill my molds. So it's good to have a bunch of molds on hand as a backup plan. I'm going to do this one here. And this is just the mixture of all the little experiments thrown together with quite a bit of extra sand. If I had to estimate, I'd say this one will probably be the weakest of them all, just because of all that sand in there. Go ahead and even that out. Get them bubbles. And set that to the side. I'll probably pour the rest of this into a different mold. But until then, but anyway, let's let these sit. I'll go ahead and pour this into, I'll find another mold to pour this into, probably something a little bigger. Anyway, I'm gonna let this sit for at least 24 hours. Then we'll come back on the video and see how everything turned out. All right, so it's actually been a couple of days since I poured these. You know, working a full-time job and all kinds of other things going on. I didn't really have time to get to this part. But I went ahead and demolded these coasters. And so, firstly, I just want to say I got a little hungry with this one. No. This one, the corners broke off as I was demolding it. And this is the one that I put all the sand in. Now, would it have fared better if I stuck to the 33% sand mix instead of dumping all that extra sand in there? I mean, sure, it would have probably been stronger. But I think in general what I learned with this one is it's kind of pointless to use sand in this stuff. Because for one, obviously, it kind of sabotages the structural integrity. Plus, because of how thick it was, as you can see, I got a lot of bubbles there. But also, it really did nothing to the finish. It didn't color it at all. You can kind of see on the broken edges there, you can see the green bits of sand, but it's not worth it, really. So I wouldn't bother putting sand in with your Resin-Crete or Pure Cure. It just weakens it too much. This is pretty thick, and I can just real easy. So that's garbage. Now, for the other two, so here's the 50-50 mix. Nice finish. I like it. Nice and smooth. 75-25, same thing. Really not much difference. You can barely tell that the higher ratio of Pure Cure is lighter in color, which is to be expected because it's white and the cement mix is dark gray. But still, both of them have the characteristic kind of ceramic-y feel and sound to them. So strength. Oh, by the way, the coaster that the hexagonal coaster that I did with all the different things mixed together and a whole bunch of sand, just kind of pretty much just crumbled in my hands as I demolded it. So that was obviously I can't show that because it's in the garbage. It just fell to bits completely. And off camera, though, I did take all the excess I had in that cup and I poured it into a sphere mold. Unfortunately, I grabbed too big of a sphere mold, so I only got about halfway through. But actually, this one turned out nice and smooth. Not really any bubbles. Couple, little bubbles were there, but not too bad. Bottom is ugly, of course. It would make a nice paperweight. Because of the shape, it's not really going to crumble. Because it's nice and compact, and the dome is a really strong structure. So, I mean, I could, you know, seal it with something, and it's a nice paperweight, I guess. So, as far as the strength of these, I don't really have a good scientific way to test it. So I'm just going to test it the way I did with the other one. And I'm going to see if I can physically snap it. And I mean, really, I'm not building houses with this stuff, and presumably you're not either. So as long as you can handle it and it can sit around and not break easily, it's strong enough. So we're going to try the 50-50 here. And we'll just see if I can... Yep, that broke. That broke pretty well. Not a whole lot of effort. So, I mean, well, it wasn't a tremendous amount of effort. Okay, now it's breaking a little easier now that I've broken it already. But, I mean, it might hold up if you're careful with it. So now the 75-25. That took significantly more force. Quite a bit more force on that one. So I think we can infer by that, since this had more pure cure in it, I think it's safe to say that the pure cure is significantly stronger than cement mix. Which the cement mix I have is just stuff I got at the hardware store. Cheap bag of Quickcrete ready mix. Just add water, cement mix. So yeah, that's kind of exactly how I thought it would go. I was right in assuming that the sand would make it weaker. Obviously it made it a lot weaker. I wasn't really sure it would make it that weak, but it made it really weak. The sand did. And also I was right in assuming the pure cure is stronger than the cement mix. And I mean, this had plenty of time. This had several days to cure, so it's all fully cured. And so yeah, that took a lot more force to break that one than the 50%. I guess the big takeaway here is don't put a bunch of sand in it, or it's going to be weak. And really, you don't need to put anything other than maybe colorant in with it at all. So, anyways, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. And see you next time.